Alright, for those of you wanting to put a 4L80E in your Squarebody Chevy, here's what you need to do. I just finished doing this yesterday, so first of all, here's the tricky part. Here's the part that had me most concerned. What you'll need to do is you'll need a plug. I guess these are about 20 bucks on Amazon or eBay, I don't know. I just went to the scrapyard, picked up a 4L80E, and took the plug with it. So, you can use a 4L60E plug as well. You just have to swap a couple wires around. There are some videos on that as well out there. You'll need to come off of wire A and B. Can't really see it here, but they are marked. I don't know. There you can sort of see it. So it'll be the green and yellow one on this one at least. I don't remember what it is on the other. I believe it's also green and yellow. Then, those will go to a switched ground individually. So you'll need 2 switches, one for each of those. Then, excuse me. Sick and crap here. Then you'll need to come off of E, right there, where that hole is on this plug. There will be a red wire there. Then you'll need to find the other red wire. I believe there's only 2 red wires on the entire thing. I think they'll be C or D. Twist those 2 together and run them to fused power. Fused keyed power. 5 amps is enough to run the entire transmission. You can come off of, if you have a carbureted vehicle and you have a manual choke like I do, because I'm sick of that fucking electric bullshit, you can come off of the choke fuse with just regular old spade connector. And then make sure to put a fuse in there. Good old spade connectors to the rescue again. And you can run that to the red wires that are tied together. Then you're going to find your brown wire. I don't remember which pin it is on the 4L80, but you're going to find the brown wire. That'll be your torque converter lockup. That will also go to another switched power source, or switched ground. So, right here, first, this is turning the switch on. This is off. This is off. This is my torque converter lockup, basically. Well, it's not, but since all these 3 fuses are right next to each other, we're going to pretend it is. So, first, the solenoid A turned on is first gear. Solenoid B and A turned off is second gear. You can run the 4L80E without any switches, without any controls, anything. Now this is for if you're doing it on a budget. Except for the fluid, I spent less than $40 on the entire swap. So then, I believe this would be third gear, and that'll be fourth. And then there's your lockup. Now the great thing about the 4L80 is that it automatically tries to start in second gear if there's no power going to it. If there's no power going to it at all, you will still have second and reverse. You also have lockup in second gear. Second, third, and fourth. So you can be cruising around in town in fourth gear at 10 miles an hour with the lockup on and just lugging the piss out of your engine, and it is awesome. It's fun. You will need a mechanical shifter. It will need to be hooked up. But there is no need for doing all sorts of racy shit. You don't have to cut holes in the floor, nothing like that. You can extend the shifter linkage off of this, and it'll work just fine. Let me show you. You can go and buy the fucking standalone controller, or figure out how to wire up a computer out of a fucking 90s Chevy, or whatever year Chevy the transmission you have is out of, and make it work. Or you can run toggle switches. The only problem with toggle switches is that you are going to run full line pressure, which makes for very hard shifts. You will have to shorten the drive shaft. So what I did is I got, well, it's not as bad as it looks. I got a pipe cutter, and I cut the drive shaft real nice and square. Then I cut it to perfect length, the absolutely perfect length. The carrier bearing still sits in the same rust spot it always has sat in. Cut it to the right length, then laid it down in some channel iron and tack welded it into place. And that allowed me to keep it from warping and weld it up. Then I had to go up front, and I didn't get it level yet. That can come later though, with longer studs. I had to move the pivot point. Yeah, that was a weird thing there. I had to move it back a few inches. So it used to sit right there. That's where it sits now. As you can see, I just got a couple of studs and drilled 2 holes, threaded them in, locked them in, blah, blah. Yeah, that's all the wiring is. Yeah, you have your 2 reds, your green and your yellow, your brown and a gray, it looks like. So your green and your yellow, those are going to go to a switched ground. Your reds are going to go to keyed power. Your brown is going to go to a switched ground. And your gray, that is optional. That will go to another switched ground, I believe. If I remember right. That will run your line pressure. So if you run 12 volts of power to this wire here, or no, not 12 volts, 12 volts power, but if you run a ground to this wire, that should lower your line pressure for better shifts. But I don't know how that will affect the life of the transmission if you just leave it hooked up to power. Other than that, there are literally no modifications. All there was, to be honest with you. The cooler lines fit. You will want a bigger cooler. Other than that, that is literally all there is to it. You can buy a standalone controller. They're like $150, $200. I didn't have $150 or $200. You will also have to either convert to a digital speedometer or spend about $400, $450 on a new tail shaft housing with a mechanical speedometer outlet provision. because the 4L80E has no provision for mechanical speedo. So you can find them on eBay. They're about $450. And that's literally all there is to it. Simple as that.